Hi there, this is Courtney, and I'm going to be presenting my Medusa slideshow. So my title is called Medusa Then and Now, From Goddess to Monster to Feminist Icon. So I do want to give a little bit of a quick recap of who Medusa actually was. So essentially the story goes that Medusa was raped in Athena's temple, but Athena punished Poseidon, the man who raped her, and turned her into a monster instead of actually punishing Poseidon. Perseus beheads her as a gorgon and uses her severed head as a weapon to turn people into stone, but he continues to use her power but doesn't let her actually become a woman. She's constantly just this head. And this is Ovid's version of the myth. But what's more important is that Perseus doesn't just destroy her power, he actually continues the cycle of using her gaze to his own advantage, and again, he doesn't let her become her own person, she's just a head. It's kind of about a woman being punished for male violence, because, again, she was raped brutally in Athena's temple. And another thing I want to point out is right on the screen, I'll be talking about this piece of artwork on the left. So this is actually someone's artwork depicting Medusa, and as you can see, she's beheaded and she's very scary. But on the right, we see this kind of cartoon image of a beautiful woman, and you can see, her breasts, and there's a little bit of irony because she is stepping on the body of her, of the person that holds her head, which is Perseus. So I'll get a little bit more into that as I go on here. So Medusa is seen in literature, and actually one of the main talking points I want to bring out is that in 1975 there was a feminist writer called Helene Sixus, and I think you told me how to pronounce this, and I just can't remember. But essentially, Helen declared that Medusa never was actually a monster, and that her book for the first time kind of showed Medusa in a different light, and it was written by a woman, and one of the best quotes in the book says, "You only have to look at the Medusa straight on to see her. And she's not deadly. She's beautiful and she's laughing." And again, this was written in 1975, and keep in mind that the 70s were a time where women didn't have as many rights as you think. It seems like a long time ago, but it really wasn't that long ago. So she called on women to write their bodies, experiences, and sexuality into literature. And I read some of the book, and it's, a fantastic story of how Medusa is differently being portrayed. So as you can see on the bottom right here on the right, I decided to put a picture of Medusa being a beautiful woman, because this was almost what she was supposed to be as written by Helen. She's supposed to be this beautiful, laughing goddess, and it's a lot different than we see in Ovid's version, which is that Medusa was this angry, just monstrous woman. So there is some mockery of Medusa, and, I kind of went over this a little bit in class too, but most of the original stories are written by men, and the reason I brought out Helen's story, is just because I feel like a woman's version tells a very different picture of it. And as you can see, Hillary Clinton, and this was back in 2016, was put on the head of Medusa, looking as this angry, evil woman. And then all the way on the right here, we see a picture of Trump, I guess this is a t-shirt, holding Medusa, which is Hillary's head. So again, we're kind of seeing this theme of, like, women are really angry. Women just have major anger issues that can cause wars, and we see this in modern day politics. So like I said on the screen, that Medusa's anger relates to women who express anger. And this is Caravaggio's Medusa, and this was on my front slide. And essentially, this is what he painted, and as you can see, it's a horrifying picture. So it just kind of goes to show you what the different art forms of what she is, and it's weird to see it in different light depicted by different artists. And then there's this aspect of victim blaming of Medusa, because again, going back to Ovid's version, that she was punished after being assaulted by Athena. The transformation, it really shifts blame onto Medusa as though somehow her getting brutally assaulted was her fault. And she, again, is seen as this monster instead of this survivor that persevered. And not only was she raped, but then she was used for her body. And it's just very, very disappointing. So Medusa is also seen in modern day politics. I guess you could call this politics, but also I would say this is a new movement. So if we've all heard of the Me Too movement, it's essentially the movement on Twitter back in around, I would say 2018, 2019, of women on Twitter showing what they've gone through in terms of being assaulted by men. And it's revealed that, one of my sources revealed that 1 in 4 women are assaulted by men in their entire lives, which is a lot of people. So this is Luciano Garbati, and he's an Italian artist, and he actually created the picture on the left. And this is really interesting because it shows Medusa naked, holding his head, Perseus's head. And, in other versions of this, she is not, obviously, holding his head. And I find it very interesting that if we look on the right, where this is Perseus's body, look at how muscular and beautiful his body looks. But then we also see her body being really beautiful. And I think this, to me, is a mockery of the statue to the right. So the statue to the left, which was Garbati's statue, was put outside of the New York Supreme Court. I think that's very ironic, given that Roe v. Wade was overturned, unfortunately, many years later. And she also does appear on signs of women's marches as an icon. I mean, she really is an icon. So just interesting and just seeing the different types of art of what she is portrayed. But I think one of the biggest being, I just think it's ironic how her body is very nice, and then of course we see the one on the right, and his body is very nice. So that's what I got from these sculptures. Medusa also has become a symbol of protection in tattoo culture, kind of like an evil eye, or sort of a protection for people. So a lot of the times people will put these ink images of Medusa on their thighs, on their stomach, possibly on their hands, mostly everywhere where you can see them, because essentially what it is it's a protection against evil. And like I said, queer people, women, and minorities do make up a majority of these images, because it's almost saying, don't do evil to me. Because in their mind, and what we're starting to come to realize is Medusa wasn't actually this monster. She was angry at the man who raped her, and she was a product of victim blaming. She was blamed. So again, the idea is that she could in return harm others to those seeking to harm her. So, just some absolutely beautiful pieces of her, and often in black and white. I think I have